Kellogg's Pep, the super delicious cereal, presents
The Adventures of Superman.
Faster than a speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings at a single bound.
Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman.
Yes, it's Superman. And today, the Man of Steel must find the means of tracing Jimmy Olsen and Lois Lane. We'll join him as Clark Kent in a moment. But right now, let's join a certain young fellow named Rusty, who seems to be kind of discouraged. Let's hear what Dan McCullough has to say to him.
Say, Rusty, what's the matter with you?
Oh,
Why, you've been grumping around here all afternoon. What's the beef?
well, I missed out on something.
Something you wanted pretty bad?
Yeah, one of those comic buttons Kellogg's Pep is putting out. One I need in my collection.
Well, how'd you miss out?
All I wanted was to trade with Skinny. That's all I wanted. He went and traded with Sue instead.
But Skinny wouldn't leave you out.
Well, I've got two Smoky Stover buttons, see, and I need a Moon Mullins or a Superman.
Yeah?
So Skinny goes and swaps Sue as extra Superman for a Smoky Stover. And I wanted that trade.
But look, Rusty, did Skinny know that you had an extra Smoky Stover button?
Well, no.
And did he know that you needed a Superman?
No, but
Well, then how could he know that that you wanted him to trade?
say, that's right. I never thought of that.
Why, sure, every fellow and girl knows that you have to sort of spread the word around when you have duplicate comic buttons to trade so that you don't take any chances on missing out. Because every fellow and girl wants, eventually, to collect all 18 different buttons in the series. And you can do that, too, sure, easy as anything. You don't send in any money, not even a box top. Fact is, you can't buy these exciting comic buttons anywhere. But you'll find one, an exclusive prize, in every package of P.E.P. Pep, made by Kellogg's of Battle Creek. Now, the adventures of Superman.
Just as Superman seemed on the verge of learning what had happened to Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen, who had mysteriously disappeared after Lois's Siamese cat had seemingly spoken to them in a human voice, grim tragedy intervened. A moment after his discovery that the gold wristwatches, presented to the Daily Planet staff by Mr. Grayson, publisher of the paper, contained tiny, ingeniously designed radio receivers, Clark Kent, in his role of Superman, spotted a black funeral hearse speeding away from the vicinity of his apartment. Pursuing it in the dark hours before dawn, he was just too late to prevent a traffic crash in which the driver of the hearse was killed. As we continue now at the scene of the accident, the police have removed the dead driver, and having summoned Perry White and Inspector Henderson to the scene, Kent is pointing out a discovery he made in the wrecked hearse. Listen.
Shine your flashlight over here, Inspector. Now, a little more to the right. That's it.
Hey, what's this doing in a funeral hearse, Kent?
You mean that pile of junk? Oh, what is it?
That's a radio transmitter, Chief.
A radio transmitter?
That's what it is, all right. What's left of it?
But what would a... Wait a minute. You said you saw this hearse near your apartment tonight, Kent.
Yes, I noticed it speeding away after Lois's cat stopped talking.
Oh, then this transmitter could be the one that...
That's right. There's no doubt about it.
No doubt about what?
It's the cat's voice.
Uh-huh.
The cat's voice.
We haven't had a chance to tell you yet, Inspector. Lois's Siamese cat spoke to me tonight.
What? Yes, it told Kent I was responsible for Lois and Jimmy's disappearance, and that I intended to get rid of him, too.
It wasn't really the cat speaking, of course. It was...
It wasn't. Great Jehoshaphat. Can't you make up your mind?
Well, perhaps I'd better explain.
Perhaps you'd better and make it good.
I can't make it any better than it is. The human voice that Lois and Jim and Mr. White thought came from the cat was broadcast from the shortwave radio transmitter in this funeral hearse.
And it was received by our wristwatches.
Uh-huh.
By your what?
Now, look, is there something wrong with your hearing, Inspector?
No, but I think there's something wrong with your head.
Now, look here,
Wait a minute. You see, Inspector, the four of us, Mr. White, Miss Lane, Jim Olsen, and myself, received gold wristwatches for Christmas. Mr. White's and mine, and I'm sure Miss Lane's and Jim's, too, were equipped with tiny radio receivers.
Are you kidding?
I'll show him, Kent.
I'm just going to. Here, wait a minute. You can see for yourself, Inspector. Hey, I'll just remove the back of this watch. There. Shine your flash on it.
Great Jehoshaphat.
See it?
Those little glass gimmicks are the tube.
Right, and that's the speaker amplifier.
Yes, you're right, Kent. This is a miniature receiving set.
Of course it is. It picked up the voice that was broadcast from this phony hearse. And when Miss Lane was alone with the Siamese cat, and later when Jim was, and then Mr. White, they thought the cat was speaking.
Oh, it almost drove me out of my mind.
That probably was the purpose of the whole thing.
What do you mean, Kent?
I believe the talking cat, voices in the deserted house on Myrtle Drive, and all the other hocus-pocus was deliberately planned to confuse us and make us think we were losing our reason.
Say, wait a minute. You said somebody gave you these wristwatches for Christmas.
Uh-huh.
Who was it?
Mr. Grayson, the publisher of the Planet.
John W. Grayson?
Yes. Oh, but he can't be mixed up in anything like this.
Of course not. Look, Inspector, the motive isn't the important thing right now. We've got to find out what happened to Jim and Lois and where they are. The driver of this hearse knew, but he's dead. Now, you've just got to identify him and trace this hearse.
My men are working on it. But there are a few things about this setup and your story, White, that don't satisfy me.
What do you mean?
All of you thought the voices you heard came from the cat, right?
No, I didn't, but what's your point?
Well, actually, the voices came from the radio receivers in your wristwatches.
Yes?
And for you to think that they came from the cat had to be close to one of the watches.
That's right.
Well, it was. I was in bed reading, and it was crouching next to me when it, when I thought it talked.
Then how could the guy in the hearse, the guy who was doing the broadcasting, know when each of you was alone with the cat and whether or not it was close to you?
That's right. Well, how could he, Kent?
Well, they must have had a Confederate posted somewhere. You see, it's my hunch that the man in the coupe who followed us from your house tonight, Chief, was the lookout.
Yes, that adds up.
Sounds pretty far-fetched to me. If
Whoa.
you want my opinion, Kent, you're way off the beam.
Now, wait a minute. How about the fact that the man who drove this hearse answers the description of the man who stopped Miss Lane's taxicab the day she disappeared, Inspector?
Yeah, you got a point there, Kent. Oh, this is the screwiest case I've ever seen.
You're telling us.
Well, come on. There's no more to be seen here. We'll go back to headquarters and see if anything turned up. Watch it. Watch it. There's glass all around here.
Okay. Oh, be careful, Chief.
Stop treating me like a baby.
Well, you seem to be yourself again.
Okay. Here's my car. Get in, gentlemen.
You only hope they identified that driver, Kent.
Just keep your fingers crossed.
Close the door, will you, Kent?
Okay.
Maybe we can find out what we want at headquarters.
Yes, Inspector.
I'm in my office with Mr. White and Mr. Kent. I don't want to be disturbed.
Detective Healy is calling from the criminal record room, sir.
Okay, put him on my private wire. It's Healy. He may have something. Yes, Healy? What? Oh, I see. How about the driver? Uh-huh. Well, stay with it. Right.
Any luck, Inspector?
Yes, but it's bad. The license plate on the hearse was stolen, so we drew a blank there.
No.
What about the driver?
Haven't been able to identify him.
Then what are we going to do?
Well, I think we'd better pay Mr. Grayson a visit and find out where he got those watches.
Looks
Right?
like our last hope. Let's go.
If you think Mr. Grayson's mixed up in this, you're both crazy.
He sent you the watches, didn't he?
Yes, but... Oh, you mean...
We want to know where he got them. And if he knew about the radio receivers built into them and one or two other things. Here. Why doesn't someone answer the bell? Are we supposed to cool our heels out here forever?
Look, it's only 6 o'clock in the morning, Inspector. They're all probably Wait a minute. Here comes someone.
Yes? What is it?
Oh, good morning, Thomas.
Oh, it's you, Mr. White. And Mr. Kent.
Hello.
Who's he, Kent?
Grayson's butler.
Mr. Grayson up yet, Thomas?
Mr. Grayson? Why, Mr. Grayson left for Europe quite suddenly.
Europe? Left for Europe?
You're right, sir. He tried to phone you before he left, Mr. White, but you weren't at home or at the office.
Good God, Freddy.
Now we are in a pickle.
Oh, wait, maybe not. When did Mr. Grayson leave, Thomas?
Last night, sir, at midnight.
How was he traveling?
By clipper. He managed...
Thanks. See you later, Chief. Inspector?
No, wait. Where are you going, Kent?
I just thought of something. Something important. So long.
Breaking into a run, Clark Kent vanishes around the corner, leaving Perry White and Inspector Henderson speechless and amazed. What did Kent suddenly think of? In a moment, we're going to learn what happened to Jimmy Olsen and Lois Lane, so keep listening. Our scene is a dingy warehouse, only a few miles from the Daily Planet building. Here, for almost 24 hours now, Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen have been held in a locked room where almost constantly they hear the nerve-wracking meowing of a cat. Listen.
There. There it is again, Jim.
Sure, I know, Miss Lane. It's a cat.
Yes, but where is it? Where?
Why, I don't know.
It sounded like it was in this room, didn't it?
Well...
You know it did, Jim. But there is no cat in this room. Oh, Jimmy, what's happening to me?
Nothing's happening.
Yes, something is. First, I heard my Siamese cat speak to me in a human voice. And then...
Well, I heard it, too, and so did Mr. White.
I don't believe it. I don't believe you. You're just saying it to try and make me feel better.
No, I'm not. Mr. White and I did hear it. But it's some kind of a trick, like Mr. Kent said.
Why should anyone play a trick like that on us?
I don't know, but I'm sure that's what it is. I told you what happened to me when I was with Mr. White in that deserted house last night. I fell through a hole in the floor or something, and somebody grabbed me. I couldn't see him in the dark, but I felt him. That's how I know Mr. Kent is right, that it's a trick and not anything... anything, well, spooky.
But what happened to me? I was in a taxicab in broad daylight going to Lucille Markham's house in Forest Heights. And the next thing I knew, I was in a pitch-black room, and that same voice, the voice I heard coming from the cat, kept telling me what to say, to call for help. It said that Mr. White would hear me and help me. And I was so upset. There's the cat again. Do you hear it?
Sure, but...
You don't. You don't. Only I hear it. I know
Now,
it.
please, Miss Lane, you gotta pull yourself together. You've just got to. I don't know what this is all about, but there's nothing wrong with you.
But even as Jimmy makes a desperate attempt to console Lois and assure her that nothing is going to happen to them, in a room above the one in which the two Daily Planet reporters are being held, a plump, middle-aged, pasty-faced man smiles as he listens to Jimmy's voice coming to him over a dictograph.
You gotta believe me, Miss Lane. You just gotta. Nothing's gonna happen to us. Why, Mr. Camden, Mr. White, and Inspector Henderson, and the whole police force must be looking for us right now. And it won't be long before they find us. So, you gotta just hang on.
Smiling, the pasty-faced individual reaches out and flips the switch of the dictograph, turning it off. Then, facing his companion, a younger man with tiny pig eyes, thick lips, and massive shoulders, he nods as though in satisfaction. Who are these two men, and why have they launched a campaign of fear and terror against Lois, Jimmy, and editor Perry White? What do they hope to gain? Well, you can be sure they'll gain nothing, because Superman is on their trail, and it won't be long now before the trail ends. Tomorrow, we approach the smashing climax of the mystery of the talking cat, so don't miss it. Tune in, same time, same station, for tomorrow's exciting, thrill-packed episode in The Adventures of Superman.
Kellogg's Pep, the super delicious cereal, presents
The Adventures of Superman. Faster than a speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings at a single bound. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman.
Yes, it's Superman, who is today hopeful of finding a clue that will lead him to Jimmy Olsen and Lois Lane. We'll learn what happens in a moment. Although Superman has discovered how Lois Lane's Siamese cat appeared to talk in a human voice, he has not yet been able to learn what happened to Lois and Jimmy Olsen, both of whom vanished without leaving a trace, after revealing that the cat had seemingly spoken to them. But as we learned yesterday, the two reporters are in a Metropolis warehouse, prisoners of a mysterious man they cannot see, and who, for reasons known only to himself, is determined to make them believe they have lost their minds. Meanwhile, Superman is on the trail of Mr. Grayson, the publisher of the Daily Planet, who presented our friends with the radio-equipped wristwatches that created the illusion of the cat talking. As we continue now, a huge clipper plane is thundering over the Atlantic toward Lisbon, Portugal. In the control cockpit, the co-pilot, Rusty Brown, suddenly stiffens. Then he turns to the flight captain.
Did you hear that, Bill?
Hear what?
The voice calling to us.
A voice?
Yeah. Seemed to come from outside the plane.
Outside? There's something wrong with your ears, Rusty?
Guess I just imagined. But I would have sworn that...
Clipper. Ahoy in there.
There, heard it again.
So did I. Good grief, look, Rusty.
Huh? Where?
Right outside your window.
Great snakes.
It's Superman.
Superman?
Open the window.
I can't believe it.
Hurry up, get the window open.
Come on in, pal.
Well, I hope I didn't startle you fellas.
Rusty here will never be the same.
You can say that again.
Now, look, Captain, there's a man aboard named Grayson. It's very important that I see him at once.
Did you say Grayson?
Yes, he's sitting on the right-hand side of the aisle, third seat back. If you don't mind, I wish you'd call him in here. I'm afraid if I stepped into the cabin, there'd be a lot of commotion.
We're not supposed to allow passengers up front.
I know.
I guess it'll be all right. Call him, Rusty, will you? Grayson, third seat back.
Chet. Well, what do you know? Superman. Oh, Mr. Grayson, will you step in here, please?
That's John D. Grayson, the newspaper publisher, isn't it?
That's right.
What's he been up to?
Nothing, I hope.
Right in here, sir.
What is it?
Take a deep breath.
What do you mean? Is something wrong?
I wanted to see you, Mr. Grayson.
Why, who are you?
Believe it or not, it's Superman.
Superman. Good heavens.
Look, Mr. Grayson, you sent identical wristwatches to Perry White, Jim Olsen, Lois Lane, and Clark Kent, right?
Yes, for Christmas. Why?
Where did you get those watches?
I bought them.
Where?
Now, look here. Why are you asking me these questions?
Because Miss Lane and Jimmy Olsen have disappeared, and my only chance of locating them depends on you.
Disappeared? How? When?
Please, Mr. Grayson, just tell me what I want to know. Every second counts. Where did you buy those watches?
Why, I bought them at Kreutzer's.
Kreutzer's?
Yes, he told me he'd just gotten his first shipment of new watches since the beginning of the war. He suggested I might like to buy some for my newspaper staff for Christmas, as I used to do. They were quite beautiful, so...
Well, where and what is Kreutzer's?
It's a jewelry store in High Meadows, the suburb where I live.
Oh?
But tell me, what is this about Miss Lane and Jim Olsen disappearing?
No time now, Mr. Grayson. Excuse me, Rusty.
Yeah, sure.
So long. Out! And away!
Leaping from the window of the huge clipper, Superman veers in midair and streaks back across the vast Atlantic to the fashionable village of High Meadows, a suburb of Metropolis. Once more, in the guise and garb of the mild-mannered reporter Clark Kent, he enters a small jewelry store on the village square. Behind the counter, a thin, stoop-shouldered man is arranging a tray of rings.
Good morning. Are you Mr. Kreutzer?
Yes? What can I do for you?
Why, there seems to be something wrong with my wristwatch. Will you look at it, please?
Yes. What's the matter with it?
I don't like the reception.
I beg your pardon?
The radio reception. I can only get one station, and all that it seems to broadcast is the voice of a cat.
What?
You heard me. The voice of a cat.
I don't understand you, young man. This is a watch, not a radio.
There's a tiny radio receiver built into the case, as you well know. Open the case. It might refresh your memory.
My memory?
Yes, go ahead. Open it.
Why, yes. I certainly will. A radio receiver, you say? I can't imagine such a thing. There. Let's see. Why, there is what looks a radio set here under the movement.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what it is.
Does this really receive a radio program?
Just one, which I'm tired of. That's why I brought it back to you. I'd like you to fix it so I can hear my favorite program. Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen.
Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen? I never heard of them.
Oh, really?
No. Listen, Mr.
Kent.
Yes, Mr. Kent. Where did you get this watch?
From Mr. John D. Grayson, who bought it from you.
From me?
Yes, and 3 others just like it. Now, look, Mr.
You're mistaken. I didn't sell Mr. Grayson this watch.
Oh, yes, you did.
I tell you I didn't. I've never had a watch with a radio receiver built in. I never saw or even heard of one before.
Now, wait a minute.
I remember selling Mr. Grayson 4 watches just before Christmas. As a matter of fact, they were the same make as this one, and similar in design.
They were.
I received a shipment of 3 dozen from the manufacturer just in time for the Christmas trade.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but I assure you, none of them had radio receivers built in.
You're prepared to tell the same story to the police, Mr. Kreutzer?
The police?
Yes.
Why, of course. But why should I tell it to them?
I'll check with the manufacturer, and then perhaps I'll be back to see you. Goodbye, Mr. Kreutzer.
Wait, Mr. Kent. I don't understand.
I'll be seeing you. Now, if he was lying, he'll contact somebody in a hurry. There were several people mixed up in this business. The man in the funeral hearse, the lookout in the coupe, and... Uh-oh. He's picking up his phone. Wait, now, let's see how... This telephone pole. It carries the phone wire from his shop. Now, if I lean against it, I should be able to hear his voice over the wire. No, I don't hear anything yet.
Metropolis 63120. And please try to hurry it. It's urgent.
Metropolis 63120, eh? 63120. Hey, I hope this hunch works out.
Hello? Mr. Ames, this is Kreutzer. Listen, a young fellow named Kent was just in my store.
Kent? Did you say Kent?
Yes, he knows about the watches.
What do you mean? What does he know?
About the receivers. He said he heard a cat's voice come out of the watch.
Yes? What else?
He said he wanted me to fix the radio so he could hear Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen.
Yes, go on.
And he said he was going to check with the watch manufacturer and then come back to see me with the police.
He did, eh?
Yes, I'm scared, Mr. Ames. The manufacturer will tell him they didn't build the radio receivers into the watches. He'll know I did it. The police...
Stop your whining. Everything's all right.
No, it isn't. We're in danger. You've got to do something.
I tell you, everything will be all right. But I'll have to change my plans. Now listen to me. Close your store and meet me at Louis'. I'll have to clear out for a while.
Yes, but what about Miss Lane and young Olson?
Leave them to me. Move fast now. I'll be waiting for you at Louis'.
All right.
Oh, my hunch did pay off, eh? Now, let's see. Where can I... into that alley between the stores. There we are. Now, to talk turkey to Mr. Kreutzer.
As Superman.
Stepping into a shadowed alley, Clark Kent swiftly resumes his true identity of Superman. We'll return in a moment for the tense climax of today's episode. In a small, dusty office of a dingy warehouse, above the locked room in which Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen are imprisoned, a plump, middle-aged man is hastily donning his overcoat. This is the mysterious Mr. Ames, and his pasty face reddens with anger as he listens to his companion, a younger, ferret-faced man.
I know what I'm saying, Mr. Ames. We ought to turn Miss Lane and Olsen loose.
Oh, no, we won't, Hubbard.
But that reporter, Clark Kent, he knows about the wristwatches now.
So what?
Well, he'll go to the police, and they got our funeral hearse with a shortwave transmitter in it. If they trace that and the watches to us, we're dead pigeons.
Hubbard, by the time they trace anything to us, if they do, we'll be far away from here.
They'll hunt us down.
Stop worrying, Hubbard. Neither the police nor Clark Kent will ever be able to prove that we had anything to do with the disappearance of Miss Lane and Jimmy Olsen.
What do you mean? Well, if we're caught with them...
We're not taking them with us.
Well, then what? You don't figure to leave them locked up here for the police to find and question.
I said to stop worrying, Hubbard, and leave everything to me. Now get your coat and hat and follow me. Hurry.
Puzzled but obedient, the ferret-faced Herbert follows Mr. Ames from the dingy office. What did Ames mean when he said, "Leave everything to me"? What is he planning to do? And what of Superman, who overheard the conversation between the jeweler and Ames and is probably even now soaring high above the city in an effort to find Jimmy and Lois? Monday brings the smashing climax of The Mystery of the Talking Cat and the beginning of a new story. You won't want to miss it, so be sure to tune in then, same time, same station, for The Adventures of Superman.
Kellogg's Pep, the super delicious cereal, presents The Adventures of Superman.
Faster than a speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings at a single bound.
Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman. Yes, it's Superman. And today, as we conclude our story of the talking cat, Jimmy Olsen and Lois Lane are in urgent need of his help. We'll join them in a moment.
When Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen mysteriously disappeared after revealing that Lois's Siamese cat had spoken to them in a human voice, Clark Kent discovered how the animal had been made to appear to talk. 4 wristwatches presented to Kent, Perry White, Lois, and Jimmy as Christmas presents had been ingeniously equipped with tiny radio receivers, which picked up a human voice being broadcast from a transmitter in a funeral hearse. Kent traced the watches to the jewelry shop of a man named Kreutzer, and by means of his acute hearing, overheard Kreutzer phone a Mr. Ames, telling him of Kent's visit. As we continue now, Ames and his henchman, a ferret-faced man named Turbot, have unlocked the door in a dingy warehouse where Lois and Jimmy are imprisoned. As the door opens, the 2 reporters spring to their feet.
Jim, somebody's coming.
Maybe it's Mr. Kent or the police. No, it isn't.
Stand here by the door, Herbert. Well, good morning, Miss Lane. Olsen.
Who are you?
Don't you recognize me?
Why, you're Frederick Ames. Who?
That's right, Miss Lane. Quite a long time since we've met, isn't it?
Why are you pointing that gun at us?
You have a short memory, Miss Lane. You've forgotten that you and Clark Kent and Perry White, yes, and Olsen, too, exposed me and put my newspaper out of business?
You deserve to be put out of business. You should have been put behind bars for life. You were publishing a vicious, anti-racial paper that preached hate and intolerance, trying to do to America what Hitler did to Germany.
Yeah, I remember you. I wasn't in on most of the story, but I remember it all now.
And you should remember what I told each of you in court when I was sent to jail for what you called subversive activities.
Is that why you've got the gun?
It is indeed, Olsen. Instead of continuing the cat treatment.
Cat treatment? So it was you. You tricked us some way. Made us think the cats talked.
Mr. Kent said all the time it was a trick. Well, how? Why?
You were trying to drive us out of our minds.
We've been
I
listening.
would have succeeded if not for Mr. Kent. Now, Miss Lane. Olson.
No. Put that gun down.
You'll go to the electric chair.
Don't worry about me. Goodbye, Miss Lane. Goodbye, Olson.
No.
Don't.
I'll take that gun, Ames. Let go. Come on.
Miss
Let
Lane,
go.
look. It's Superman.
Oh, thank heaven.
I said I'd take that gun, Mr. Rat.
Oh, I think I'm going to...
Don't say now, Miss Lane. Everything's okay.
What are you going to do to me?
Put you back in the cell they should never have let you out of. This time, I hope you'll be locked up for good.
Hey, the other guy's getting away.
He won't get far, Jim. Inspector Henderson and his men are outside. All right, come along, Ames. The inspector will be glad to see you.
No.
Come along, I said. You all right, Miss Lane?
A bit weak in the knees, but all right now. Thanks to you.
That goes for me, too. Boy, I thought we were goners.
That wasn't as bad as thinking I was losing my mind. I suppose it was Ames who sent me the cat.
Yes, of course he did. He had the wristwatches you received for Christmas made with tiny radio receivers in them.
What? Radio receivers?
That's how it was done, Jim. When Ames's lookout saw you were alone with the cat, he signaled the man in the funeral hearse who broadcast the strange voices you heard. The wristwatches picked up the voices.
Police. So that's how it was done.
But how did I disappear from the taxi cab that day?
Well, you had fallen asleep. You had taken a sedative before you left your apartment, remember? The man in the hearse stopped your taxi driver, and when he turned to look at you, the man knocked him out with a padded blackjack.
Oh.
When the driver awoke, the man and you were gone. Clark Kent will explain anything else you want to know. Oh, here comes Inspector Henderson. I'll turn you all over to him.
Turning the now thoroughly cowed Ames over to the police and taking leave of Lois and Jimmy, Superman disappears. The following morning, once more in the guise of Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter, we find him in Lois Lane's office where he and Jimmy Olsen are kidding the girl reporter about the talking cat.
Oh, you look a little tired, Lois. How about a cat nap?
Stop it, Clark. And don't you laugh, Mr. Olson. You're the last person in the world to laugh at me.
What, Jimmy? A person? I thought he was a cat.
Oh,
why, sure he's a cat. Meow for the Lady Jane.
Okay.
Meow.
Yes, kid.
I suppose you think you're funny. You wouldn't joke about it if you'd gone through what I went through.
Oh, yes, a terrible catastrophe, wasn't it?
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. Clark, if you've got nothing better to do than to pull bad puns and make unfunny jokes, suppose you do it in your own office.
Oh, we're just kidding, Miss Lane.
Well, I'm not in the humor for kittens. I mean kittens.
You see?
How do you like that? Blames us and then pulls a sour gag herself.
It wasn't a gag. It was a mistake.
It was a mistake. Well, Jim, look. It looks like we're not wanted around here. And what do you say we get out of Tony's hash house? Maybe we can rustle up a couple of friendly mice from Tony's house.
Oh, Mr.
You know, Clark, you're wasting your time as a reporter.
Oh, do you think so?
You should be a radio comedian.
Oh, other people have told me that.
How would you like me to fix it for you?
Can you?
I know the man who produces the Danny Kaye program.
Oh, really?
No, O'Reilly. There.
There what?
I suppose that wasn't funny.
Funny?
It's a joke, Mr. Kent. A joke, that is.
Oh, really?
Get out of here, both of you.
Uh-oh. That's showing her clothes.
Get out, I said.
Oops, the phone's ringing.
I'm not deaf.
Phone.
Oh. Hello?
Mr. Kent, please.
Just a minute. It's for you, the great Mr. Kent. Meow. Oh, will you don't stop that much. Here, take your old phone.
Yep. Hello?
Hello, Kent.
Yes.
This is Bruce Wayne.
Who?
Bruce Wayne. Oh, Batman.
Oh, yes. How are you?
Fine, and you?
Fine, thanks.
I'm calling from the crime detection office at police headquarters, Kent. I wonder, could you come down here?
Well, sure thing. Why, what's up?
I can't discuss it over the phone. You'd better get down here. I'll be in room 607.
I'll be there in 10 minutes.
And Kent.
Yes?
Don't bring anyone with you. If this leaks out, you will be ruined.
What? Ruined?
See you in 10 minutes. Goodbye.
Bye.
What's the matter, Mr. Kent?
Huh? What? Oh, nothing. I've got to get down to police headquarters.
Well, I hope they put you in a cell and throw away the key.
Oh, I'll go along with you.
No, Jim. No, I've got to go alone. I'll see you later. Ruined? What did he mean?
Gosh, Miss Lane. Did you see the look on his face when he hung up?
I don't make it a habit to keep my eyes glued on Mr. Kent's face.
Oh, but that look. I've seen it before. I know it. It means trouble.
Right you are, Jimmy. That look does mean trouble. But not the kind of trouble you think. Gang, don't miss the startling climax of today's episode. Stand by for just a moment, and we'll be back with it. At police headquarters in room 607 of the Crime Detection Division, Batman in his guise of Bruce Wayne and Superman in his guise of Clark Kent face one another across a desk. Kent is obviously puzzled as Bruce Wayne opens a drawer of the desk and removes 3 index cards. For a moment, he studies them. Then he looks up.
Kent, where were you on the night of Thursday, December 20th?
December 20th?
Uh-huh.
December 20th. Well, frankly, I don't know.
All right, let's take another one. The night of January 2nd. That was a Wednesday.
January 2nd. Let's see, today's the 28th. That makes it almost 4 weeks, isn't it? Like I can't answer that either, but...
Here's one more, fairly recent. The night of January the 18th. It was a Friday.
Friday the 18th?
About midnight.
Well, I was home, I imagine. Unless I'm out on a story, I'm usually home before midnight.
But you're not sure about the 18th.
Well, I can't be positive. What's this all about?
Well, here it is, Kent. In going through the files of unsolved burglary cases, I came across 3 that bear a strange resemblance.
Oh?
3 bank burglaries in outlying districts that never hit the newspapers because they evidently weren't big enough.
Uh-huh.
The first one, on December 20th, netted the burglar $2,000. The next, on January 2nd, netted $3,000. And the last, on January 18th, netted $5,000.
Pretty small hauls for bank burglaries, aren't they?
Yes, very small. Particularly since in each case the vault door was ripped open and there was plenty of money lying around.
I don't get it.
Neither do the police. But that's not all. As I said, the doors of the vaults in all 3 banks were literally ripped off their hinges.
You mean blown off, dynamited?
No, I mean ripped. And each of these police reports mentions that whoever did it must have been a Superman.
Oh, that's fine. Great. During the war, the Nazis appropriated my name, called themselves Superman, and now it's a bank robber.
There's one more thing.
Yes?
The money that was stolen was sent to charities.
Say that again.
The $2,000 stolen on December 20th was sent to the National Charity Board. The $3,000 stolen on January 2nd was sent to the Metropolis Orphanage.
Uh-huh.
And the $5,000 stolen on January the 18th was sent to the Interfaith Relief Council. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, sure.
Yes? Oh, yes, Wilson. What? Are you sure? Yes? I see. All right, thanks. Kent, this is getting serious.
Well, what's getting serious?
Last night, the Lynn Haven National Bank just outside Metropolis was broken into.
So?
The vault door was ripped off and $10,000 was stolen. A passing motorist saw a man running out of the bank carrying a small satchel.
Well?
He wore a red cape and a blue costume.
For a long moment, Clark Kent fails to get the point. Then suddenly it dawns on him. A red cape and a blue costume. The symbols of Superman. Stunned, he stares at Bruce Wayne in open-mouthed amazement. Is Wayne, otherwise known as the Batman, insinuating that he, Superman, has been robbing banks? Or is he suggesting that there may be another Superman, another individual endowed with superhuman powers? Gang, this is the beginning of one of the most mysteriously exciting adventures in Superman's entire career. So don't miss a single exciting episode. Is there another Superman? Listen tomorrow, same time, same station. Tune in and follow The Adventures of Superman.